Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's football show here on STV2. The main talking points on tonight's programme. Celtic hoping to bounce back in the League Cup final after their 7-1 thrashing by PSG. Murty wants the new manager in at Rangers as soon as possible, while McInnes reveals he wants to stay at Aberdeen. Craig Levein looking to offload some players to get new faces in at Hearts. Yeah, that's just a few of the points we'll be talking about on Thursday night's programme. Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin, and I'm delighted to say we've got former Hearts player and manager Gary Locke, who's now an ambassador with the Tynecastle Club, here to chat about football. We might even take a wee trip down memory lane as well. Let's look at the morning papers and the back page headlines, and no surprise that most of them are all dominated by that mauling last night in Paris. What's French for déjà vu? Paris Saint-Germain 7, Celtic 1. And there's also a little, just a bottom story there, send for Sue. We'll talk about that as well. The Sun, Princes of Darkness, and again that look on Craig Gordon's face. And the Sun has the story that was our main topic yesterday on the programme. Barry Ferguson saying Rangers lack class, they need to get a new manager in, and nice to see they're all watching the programme in the newspapers as well. And here's the Mail, Fright Night, Cavani and Neymar Jr. there as the goals just kept flying in one after the other. And there's the Press and Journal, and I think near Beaton with head in hands, and Aberdeen boss Derek McInnes saying they need to focus on Killie before they think about a double header with Rangers. So that's the main back page headlines, dominating it all. Champions League football and an absolute thrashing for Celtic. I didn't expect anything less, Ruffy.
No, but I bet you didn't think it was going to be 7. I think that's the, for me, you know, I said it yesterday, it doesn't matter what team you're playing for, at what level, when you lose 7 goals, it's a hard one to get your head around. And Brendan Rodgers was quite right the other day. They're coming out saying that they have all the money, but Celtic have all the history. But you better look at the history books, because Celtic don't tend to, when they're playing in European football, get beat 7, going on 10. You know, and for me, that is the glaring thing of it all. You can analyse it and go in depth with it all, but the history books tell you that Celtic compete in Europe. It doesn't matter who they're playing against, Barcelona, Juventus, AC Milan. So I don't know whether he has to have a look, you know, the way he sets up the team or whatever, but when you continually get beat with that scoreline, and you saw the Celtic players there in the clip coming off the park, heads and hands, strips over their head. It's a hard one to get your head round, you know, when you're with a club like Celtic who has that European tradition.
Yeah, Gary, Hearts and so many others will look at it and say, well, that's Celtic getting a taste of their own medicine. Exactly what they're doing in domestic football is what's just been done to them in France.
Yeah, I've been there myself. You know, you go a couple of goals down early at Ibrox or Parkhead. It's a difficult afternoon. I certainly didn't see them losing. You know, the start they had last night, it was a fantastic start, and then to lose, you know, an equaliser so early. But you know, when you're facing the likes of Mbappe, Cavani and Neymar, and you lose the ball in the areas that Celtic were losing the ball, you're only a couple of passes away for getting done, and that's what happened.
Yeah, and this is the key issue here, Ruffy, which I think quite a lot of people are very pro what Brendan Rodgers has done and galvanised the squad. Now, we could be proved wrong long term on this one, where he says that they're going through a learning curve. But as you mentioned there, he's now presided over 3 of the 4 worst defeats in Celtic's history. Heavy defeats. I always maintain that if you're a manager and you're up against a team that far outweighs what you have available, you have to work out a way to stop them. You know, it's not so much damage limitation. You can produce, you know, a shock result, but you have to first and foremost work out a way to stop them. If he keeps playing football like this, they'll be on a few other heavy defeats.
Yeah, but Gary will know more than me being a manager. You know, you come up against teams that you know they've got better quality. So you set your stall out, obviously to try and get something out of the game. But as the game goes on, you have to reassess, you know, the way things are going and tactically try and make it not 7. You know, because as I said earlier there, doesn't matter what players you've got in your team. Losing 7 goals is a heavy one as a manager to lift the players out of. You know, it doesn't matter what the player is. He's still got to handle, you know, what comes after it, the media and everything. And I just feel that Celtic, and I know they've got a philosophy of what they're doing, but when Brendan Rodgers went in there, he said he was going to take Celtic to another level in European football. For me, they've went back the way. You know, they've went from a Champions League team to a Europa side.
Well, with all due respect, this is the one part of it I disagree with you on the basis that he has taken them up. He has taken them up a level. He's taken them to Europa League. That's their level. You know, Ronnie Dyler didn't take them to Europa League, you know, of any great standing because they were a shambles under him.
But if you go before that,
but they're not a Champions League side, Robbie. Let's be realistic.
No, not a Champions League side. But if you look at Lennon, you look at O'Neill. You know, they were competing in this level against Barcelona, AC Milan, Juventus, you know, and doing well, particularly at home. Yeah, you would get beat away from home.
But with all due respect, Ruffy, Barcelona's an AC. I mean, Barcelona's a unique situation where I think the manager did get his tactics right. I mean, he thought, wait a minute, I'm up against, you know, 3 or 4 world-class players. We are going to sit in and defend, and if we can hit them with the counter, fine. But this team last night, you know, could potentially go on to win it. 400 million on strikers alone, Gary. The one thing I would say is tactically on this one, I accept Brendan Rodgers might have a vision which everybody has to go, okay, you were right, we were wrong. But the only way he'll do that is if he's got better players to execute the style he wants to play.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think every year Celtic can get to the latter stages of the Champions League, then Brendan will obviously have more money to bring in more quality to the team. But I think if you looked at the group before it started, you know, with Bayern Munich and PSG in it, they're the two that are going to go through. If Celtic get into the Europa League, I think that's what they would have expected at the start of the campaign. So as much as last night's defeat was, you know, it was horrendous, you know, it was a heavy defeat, if they get a result against Anderlecht at Parkhead, they'll get into the Europa League, which is probably where they expected to be before the tournament started.
Yeah, here's what the manager said about winning and losing.
You know, we never get carried away when we win, and of course we try not to get too disappointed when we lose, and that's my job as the leader of the team. You know, any times that we have lost in the Champions League before, I've always tried to shape the mentality, you know, of the players, and then we, like I say, we go again. So it's your professional pride, of course, is hurt, and people who don't watch the game and they see the score, they think, oh, goodness me, 7-1. But for me, there's what I can take from the game is there's enough positive moments in it, and like I say, we've been together now for a period of time, and I'm realistic enough, and like I say, we're humble enough when we win. You have to be honest when you lose, and then you move on to your next game.
I know this sounds outrageous, Ruffy, but I actually thought they played some really good football at times. They moved the ball better than they did at Celtic Park, where I just thought they were chasing shadows.
Yeah, but I mean, as Brendan always says, when you go to Champions League football, it's all about possession of the ball. It's all about keeping a hold of the ball and using it in the right positions. Again, Gary touched on it briefly there. If you looked at the 7 goals they lost, 4 of them were their own fault. You know, slack pass, you know, no defending the ball properly, you know, no catching runners coming in for behind. So,
but if you've got a slack pass, as we were talking about,
against these teams,
but if you've got a slack pass and you've got most of your guys behind the ball, 8 or 9 of them might have a chance of thwarting it. What you had was a slack pass, and suddenly they're playing against 2 or 3 players.
And it's like, if you look at the equaliser last night, you know, Scott Brown, he'd probably give the ball away in that area in the SPFL, you know, on numerous occasions. Now, it's no disrespect to our league, but we've not got the quality that PSG have got, and 2 passes later, they're 1-1, whereas in our league, you know, Celtic would probably get away with that. So I think you've got to take into context the team they were playing against, the quality they had. But you're right, as Ruffy just says there, 3 or 4 of the goals, I think Brendan will look at and think they were easily preventable if Celtic had kept better possession of the ball.
Yeah, and of course the manager's first to accept all about the level of PSG, the level of Celtic.
What you're watching here in Paris is the world's best, you know, and maybe you get spoiled watching that because they're so good. I think my players from where they were when we first came in to where they are now, you know, they're at a very good level, but of course it's not the level of Paris Saint-Germain.
Well, I think the one key point in this, Ruffy, is quite simply what Gary mentioned there. The remit was Europa League, and I think they will succeed in doing so on December 5th. And I think that's when they'll take stock of where they are and what they need to do to somehow maybe compete, as you said, in the Champions League. I don't see them as a Champions League side.
No, I don't see them now, but now the pressure's on them in Europa because everyone's been focused on that. When they go in, hopefully they get a favourable draw going in there. But I'm looking at the sides even last night who are going to drop into that Europa. Defensively, I think Celtic would still struggle to handle most of these teams if they lose goals continually the way they lost last night.
Yeah. Do you think it'll affect them in the League Cup briefly?
No, I don't think it will because they're all professional enough. They've got a very good manager who can lift them. And I think most of the guys in there are professional enough to handle another occasion. But it's not something you would want to go into a cup final with.
Yep, okay. You can give us your view at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk Hearts, and throughout this programme we might have a wee reminisce with Gary about his playing days. Can't believe Gary Locke never got it. Happy Mondays. I used to see him in the nightclub in Edinburgh doing that dance, the best dance, to be honest with you. Nothing else, no rhythm. But nevertheless, 1990. We've got another 2 questions to go to see if he can redeem himself. As well as talking about Celtic, let's look at how that result from Paris last night fits into all the other results in the Champions League. And as you can see, Manchester United, despite all their possession, fell foul of a goal to FC Basel, and in the end secured 3 points for the Swiss outfit. And the other result there from Celtic's group, boy, in the end it was close. I thought it would have been a convincing win for Bayern Munich. In the end it was 2-1, just sneaking it. And in Group C and D, Chelsea rampant against Karabag, Atletico Madrid with a good win over Roma, couldn't separate Juventus and Barcelona, and Sporting Lisbon with that 3-1 win over Olympiacos. And again, an observation that you picked up on, Ruffy, the gulf at times is huge when these clubs with money do have top drawer players to call on, and one slip up and you're gone.
Yeah, and that's the way it is. They've got quality strikers more than anything else, and when you look at games that are nothing each and looks as if you're struggling, lo and behold, that striker that you paid a lot of money for comes up with a winner. And if you watch the Champions League highlights, they're always fantastic goals. Fantastic goals. If you watch Chelsea the other night there, I mean, there's players getting into the 18-yard box and flicking passes to each other, and they don't even know that they're there, and that just shows you the quality that these sides have got.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're going to switch our attention to Gary's club, Hearts. They've come in for a fair bit of stick over the last couple of weeks. We'll talk to him about the stadium and how it's all shaping up now. But Craig Levein is getting ready for the weekend. Of course, he's got to try and rebuild this side, and he's got a shopping list which he gives a little insight into the type of things that he's looking to add in the January window.
We've got an imbalance, and there's things that we need to fix, but I'd rather push that back and talk about it closer to January. But I mean, there are obvious things. We need a left back, and we need width and pace, and I could do a goal scoring midfield player. And I'll get my shopping list out. So yeah, but I mean, it's like everything. Come January, we'll probably need to make some headroom before we can do anything else.
Okay, so he's looking for 6 players. I think what the main crux of it all is to get players in. He's going to have to shift some out, Gary.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. We've got a squad of players at the moment that, as Craig's touched on there, he needs to move 1 or 2 out and bring fresh faces in. And everything he touched on there is probably spot on. We do need a couple of wide players, a left back. He probably wants a striker that scores 40 goals a season as well. So January is a difficult window. That's the only thing. I think we saw that last year with Hearts. You know, the January window, they brought 8 or 9 in. And there's not many of these lads left now, so it is a difficult window. But you know, I think Craig said there, you know, we certainly do need to strengthen.
How difficult is the dilemma between keeping Jamie Walker till the end of the season and maybe getting a wee bit of money that might allow you to get someone else in?
Yeah, it's a big decision. It'll all depend, you know, if there is any interest in Jamie in the January window. You know, he's had a couple of injuries and he's just back now, so it'd be great to get him back in the side. You know, he is a quality player and he's one player in our team at the minute that's a goal threat. So if we can get him back to his best, I'm pretty sure they'll be interested in him in January. But as you know, as a Hearts supporter, I'd love to see him stay where he is. Yeah,
of course the Hearts fans are a demanding lot. Having lived there, I know a few of them want to see a team worthy of the stadium. And Craig Levein today admitted that he knows the expectation levels are increasing.
I think what's important to a lot of the fans is we win football matches. So, and I'm aware of that. And I think sometimes you can do two things. You can look at your club with pride about what has happened in the last 3 years. But at the same time, you can still be demanding about what you expect from a Saturday afternoon.
Well, I was out with you last weekend, Gary. I've never met so many Hearts fans with an opinion on what they want out of this side.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, as Craig touched on, it's a demanding club. You know, I've been there myself. I've played. I've been lucky enough to be captain and manager, and you know the fans expect success. You know, for me, we're the third biggest club in the country. We've got a stadium now to match that. And expectation levels now, we've come through a really difficult period, but the expectation levels of the club are, you know, European football and maybe a trophy every now and again. And that's something that the current squad of players have to live up to.
Yeah, and just on that, you've come in for a fair bit of criticism over the stand. Only one of us defended you on the programme, the others just all steamed in. Or did you defend them as well, Ruffy?
No, I thought they'd done well, you know, to get them where they were, and I think they had every right to try and get that game on. All I said was, I think if you're the other team, you've obviously got an opinion of what's happening. And but at the end of the day, it's one of these things. It happened, and we'll move on.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, only because he's sitting next to you, you're liable to take one in the shins. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm just about to disagree with him. They're not the third best.
I knew that was coming myself.
It's like a Hearts Hibs and I'm the ref in the middle of you. But on that point, the stadium, it was right to the wire. I mean, okay, you know, fans, I can understand Alan Archibald because they would have been facing a really tough schedule next month, and fans, you know, not as many of them as Celtic and Rangers, wanted to know if the game's on. You'll wait for weather for that, but it must have been harum-scarum for you guys. Yeah,
it was, and no, I can understand the Partick Thistle fans, you know, because they've got a long the M8 to travel. It's about an hour to get there. But you know, for us, it was a massive thing to get the game on. You know, we've got a fantastic stadium now. There is still a bit to do, but as you just touched on there, you know, games get delayed right up to the last minute. If it's snowing or if it's raining, maybe a chance of a waterlogged pitch, get called off at the last minute. And for me, if you're a Partick player, you know, you prepare for the game. The game's on. You know, you never, you know, they've been away to their bed on Saturday night thinking this game might be off. They're preparing as professionals, and you know, they're prepared in the right manner. So for us, you know, we arrived about 9 o'clock Sunday morning and got handed a paintbrush and that. So it was one of them, you know, we'd done everything we possibly could to get the game on in what is now a brilliant stadium, and you know, thankfully for Scottish football, the game went ahead.
If it is humanly possible, is it an even better atmosphere now than the old stand? I mean, I think it's one of the best in the country for a game when it's fully charged. Yeah,
believe it or not, I think, if I'm right in saying, the new stand is actually closer to the pitch than what the old stand was. So for me on Sunday, the atmosphere was fantastic the first 20-25 minutes. And, you know, even in the games coming up, you know, we've got Celtic who'll probably get that whole end, Hibs will get that whole end. So it will be, you know, any player that you speak to, you get a lot of them for opposing teams say Tynecastle's one of their favourite venues to play.
Yeah.
When it's full and the place is, you know, bouncing, it's probably one of the best atmospheric stadiums in the country. And with the new stand now, you know, it'll be even better. Yeah,
and of course they just need to back that up with the team on the park. Here's what the Hearts boss makes of their form of late.
The last 2 or 3 games restricted the opponents to hardly any opportunities. Unfortunately, they've scored some goals, but our defensive structure has been good. We haven't fired on all cylinders going forward. I think that's partly to do with the upheaval and all the stuff that's been going on this season. We haven't managed to get a settled team. We haven't managed to get best 11 players on the field on a week-to-week basis. And that's something we'll be striving for between now and the transfer window.
Second time around, I still think he's got to win a few people over and get the right players in and convince people that he can back up a magnificent stadium with a good team.
Yeah, and as we touched on earlier, you know, the expectation levels of the fans are very high. And as Craig says there, we've had a lot of injuries, you know, we've had a lot of influential players missing, you know, Aaron Hughes, Arnold Doom, two really important players for us. They've missed quite a few games recently. And also, we haven't played at Tynecastle. You know, I think if you look at Hearts over the last 4 or 5 seasons, our best results certainly come at home. So now we're back home. We've got a great run of games in December, in January at home, and you know, hopefully we can pick up a few points.
Yeah, Ruffy, does the stadium make that much of a difference?
Yeah, I think it does. You know, I think everybody touches on the atmosphere at Tynecastle. It's a very intimidating place to go, and they have got a good track record there. And as Gary said, the fans have an expectation. I mean, it wasn't that long ago they were second in the league, and second in the league quite comfortably and playing really, really good football. So the fans will expect new stadium, new players coming in, that they get back up to where they were, being the 4th best team in the league.
While you two punch each other, we'll hear Craig Levine on the style he's looking for this side.
Every time you come into a new club, you have to assess. I say new club, it's not quite a new club, but every manager wants to play, you know, in a different style, in a different way. A lot of the principles might be the same, but players' positions change, and they're looking for certain things in different areas. Mine's slightly different from Ian's, which is different from Robbie's. So, yeah, I like to play with a strong core of the team and pace on the outside. So, you know, we're and a balanced left and right-footed players if possible. So we're a wee bit away from that.
Yep, so there's a fair bit of building to do, not only in the January transfer window, but in the summer as well. And of course, we'll talk to Gary about Hearts against Hibs in the Cup. And of course, there's a league match to look forward to as well. We'll give you a little teaser question, then we're going to switch our attention to Rangers and Aberdeen as well. I cannot believe, Ruffy, you never got that. Smokey and the Bandit, it's your type of movie. Thin plot and lots of good-looking women in it. It's made for you.
Yeah, it certainly was.
but you know,
no, it was Wally Pettigrew that I was trying to, because he had a great year then.
Yeah.
You know, him and Bobby Graham up front, you know.
Willie Pettigrew also
and Wally
played
went
for
to
Hearts.
Hearts,
Did
yeah.
scored a few goals for
Yeah,
Hearts.
he
That's
did.
Used to watch him.
And he also ended up playing for Dundee United too. I don't know if you remember that. I was in his company just over a year ago, and he's still in good fine fettle, Willie Pettigrew. You're right, Bobby Graham as well. Okay, one more question to go, but let's switch our attention to Rangers. They've got a difficult trip to Dens Park to play against Dundee, the Friday night game. And of course, as Barry Ferguson mentioned on the programme yesterday, it's about time they get a new manager. And well, the interim manager, Graham Murty, agrees.
It would be good for all involved at the football club. We have someone in place, whether that be me, whether that be someone else. But until that happens, we're coping. We're actually moving forward. The players are working extremely hard, and they're doing their bit, and that's all they can think about. I can't think about it either. So there's people out with the club, out with these four walls, speculating and saying things. They can crack on and do whatever they need to do. We'll just make sure that things in here, in-house, are taken care of properly.
Well, everybody's got an opinion on it. Former players, pundits, fans as well. As long as it's constructive, you can assess it. But as an outsider, are you surprised it's taken this long?
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, it's a huge football club. You pretty much imagine they'd have a host of people want to be the manager there, as I'm sure they have done. And I'm like Barry. I'm surprised that they've taken so long to appoint a new manager. If they're going to go with Graham, then appoint him now. If not, I think it's probably best for the players, for the fans, for everybody at the club that they appoint a manager now and move on.
Yep. And Graham Murty mentioned you're going to have to wait. It's going to take as long as it takes.
I've told the boys to control what they can control. They can't control the board. They can't control how long this is going to take. We have to be wise enough to accept those things that we can't change. And I've encouraged the players just to make sure that we focus within. And they've tried to do that this week. It'll take as long as it takes. I'm getting on with the job. And I know it's really, really boring for you that I keep on giving this answer, but it's just the way it is. You have to deal with the reality of the situation. It's just the way it is. When it happens, when there is an announcement, we'll deal with that. Until then, it's just speculation. I've got far more things on my plate to be coping with and making sure I get right than to be speculating, because I'd just waste energy.
Well, a lot of people are offering their opinion on who should be the manager. We do it ourselves, Ruffy. It was interesting, the comments from Derek Ferguson in the paper today saying that, and I like Derek, but he mentioned that he thinks they should go for Graham Souness and Walter Smith just to stop 10 in a row. I disagree with him. I just think going back the way, that would be going back the way for Rangers. I don't think Walter, is interested in coming back into football anyway.
No,
Souness would need to be offered a chequebook to match his ambition.
Yeah, no, I think you're right in what you're saying there. Walter and Graham have had a fantastic time there. It remains to be seen, if they would want to go back. I think Graham's already commented on it. He's had his time in the game. He's now enjoying the lifestyle that he's got, and I'm not too sure that Walter would be wanting to throw him back into, the limelight again. As I said, he's had a tremendous career. But the thing that I can't get my head around is obviously Graham Murty's up there doing interviews, and I can't believe he hasn't been kept in the loop of what's happening. Because every time he gets thrown up there, it's I don't know what's happening. If you're an interim manager, you would like to think there's somebody you could go to and be kept in the loop of what is actually happening.
Yeah, let me tell you that.
Or is this a media slant?
Well, I'm going to explain something to you, and I'm not aiming it at Graham Murty, obviously. Because it opens the gates of hell. But let me just say that managers are economical with the truth at times, and they might know certain aspects of it, but they just it's not at this point ideal to reveal what's happening.
But as Barry said the other day, that's where the Rangers supporters have been let down. They were told with the new group that came in there was going to be transparency. They were going to be kept in the loop of everything that was happening, and we're back to where we were before. That the Rangers supporters don't know what's happening.
Well, me personally, and I don't want you to comment on this, Gary, but you can give us your insight from an unbudged perspective in a moment. But I think Rangers at this moment, possibly in the next 6 months, depending on this next appointment, could be looking for a new owner and a new board. That for me, unless they are transparent to say, here is the vision, here is the money, this is what we're going to do to stop Celtic, then I think a lot of Rangers fans are going to lose patience. And if they don't get this appointment right, Ruffy, I think it'll be quite easy for the Rangers fans to say, no, we want a new owner, we want a new board.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's important to get the right person, because I think the fans are on the verge. They're confused of which way they're going here. They know where they want to be. They obviously want to be first, but they'll take second, they'll take Europe. So that is the objectives, I think, from the Rangers fans that I'm talking to.
Yeah. From your own point of view, I've never met a man better placed to comment on the madness of one owner that you could easily write a book on, to where you are now with Anne Budge, because we've been so complimentary about her stewardship of the club, and everything off the park up until that last week was the first time I've spotted a bit of negativity, which was her trying to do something positive. But everything seems to have been handled superbly well with her.
Yeah, even last week I felt, Anne handled that brilliantly. She did her best to get the game on. She said all along she wanted the game on, and the game was on. So for me, you're right. I've seen one side of the club where a previous owner, which towards the end was shambolic. And now seeing for a different side, I'm lucky enough to work with Anne quite closely. And the way that she runs a football club now is second to none. You know, it's absolutely fantastic, and that's the reason why I firmly believe that we'll get back to the top of Scottish football.
Yeah, I think Rangers fans would like the same light that the foundation of Hearts have with the board.
Yeah, I think that's maybe a route Rangers might go down. The one thing for me, with there being a delay, are Rangers going for a manager that's at another club? If that's the case, that's why it's taking so long. You know, all fingers would point to Derek McInnes at Aberdeen.
Yeah, well, well, I'm glad you mentioned that because he ain't going according to the Aberdeen chairman, Ruffy. You know, Stuart Milne's come out in the last 24 hours and said, I've had a chat with Derek, doesn't want to leave.
You would expect him to say that, but I think we've touched on it already. Derek,
But wait a minute, he hasn't
No.
said that. He hasn't said that in the last 4 weeks. In the last couple of days, you said, isn't it about time he just kind of quashed the speculation? So the chairman's come out and killed it.
Yeah, but if you just told me a couple of minutes ago, do you believe everybody says to keep everybody happy?
It's a good point. But when the chairman comes out and says it, you think to yourself, well,
Yeah.
he's leaving himself right behind the eight
I
ball,
would
isn't he?
like to think that when we've spoken to Stuart Milne personally,
Yeah.
one-to-one, and you get the vibe that him and Derek have got a very, very close relationship. And I think one of the things that, Derek went down to Sunderland and he looked at this position there, but I think the bigger position was what Stuart Milne has said, look, this is where we're going and we want you to be part of it. We want you to be part of the new stadium. We want to be part of the new training ground. We just want you for long term. And I think that's one of the things that made Derek go back again. You know, and now that proposition is obviously up in the air here and there because of planning, not because of the club. But I think if that was to be cemented, that there was going to be a new stadium, there was going to be new training facilities and everything, I think that might just sway Derek to stay where he is.
I mean, I genuinely hope Aberdeen get the Kingsford thing up and running. Gary Hart's no more about the attraction of, look at the stadium, look at the training facilities. I mean, Edinburgh is a great city to tell anybody you can come and enjoy yourself. It's a fantastic city. Aberdeen, if they could have that training place there as well, what an attraction.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Aberdeen are, I think, are similar to ourselves, you know.
The third biggest club in the country.
I would say we're third, they're fourth. We'll not go there. You could be arguing with Ruffy all night, but no, you're right. They're a huge club with a huge following, and if they've got, you know, a proper stadium and a proper training ground, for the sake of Scottish football as well, that's what we need. You know, we need a strong Aberdeen challenge in the Old Firm, as we do Hearts, Hibs, everyone else. But you know, for me, you know, I'm not being disrespectful for Aberdeen, but you know, Derek is a big Rangers fan, so I'm pretty sure, you know, if Rangers, you know, pull out all the stops to try and get him, that would be a big pull for him as well.
Yeah, just briefly before we hit the break, guys, Dundee, one of your old teammates, is in place there. I've got a lot of time for Neil. I think given time, he could really turn things around at Dundee. He smells blood. He said, you know, this is the time to show no fear to take on Rangers.
No, well, this is the time, you know, when you look for players to stand up and be counted against the likes of Rangers and Celtic, and that's what you'll be looking for. I think they've been unfortunate, you know, a lot of games. They haven't been turned over by anybody. They've been beaten by the odd goal here and then, maybe not got a couple of decisions. So he'll expect his players to rise to the occasion.
Yeah, did you always think he was going to be a manager?
Yeah, I actually met him at the weekend. He was at our game at the weekend, and knowing Terry as I do, you know, he'll turn it around there. And as Ruffy says there, they're playing well. They've just not had that wee bit of luck, and if the luck does turn in their favour, you know, I'm pretty positive that he'll get them up the table.
Yep, and of course, just for the benefit of any younger viewers that are watching, his nickname is Terry McCann from a 1980s, is it 80s? I think it is 80s, Minder series. Just in case you were wondering why they call him Terry McCann. Is it Minder, yeah?
Minder, yeah.
Minder, yeah, okay. So, who wins, Dundee, Rangers?
Well, I think Rangers will need a response after the weekend's result at Ibrox. And I didn't want to upset Terry, but I think Rangers will win.
I think Dundee maybe get a draw on that one.
Okay then. Okay, I'll get you another question and then we're going to reminisce with Gary Locke. should have got that, Ruffy. Steve McManaman, I think, scored 2 goals in that game for Real Madrid in the final. I think it was in Paris.
Yep, he was a super player for them.
Yeah.
You know, everybody raves obviously about Gareth Bale, but he was up there with him at his peak.
Yep, absolutely. And one of the best books that I've read over the last 10 or 15 years with regards to players giving you an insight into being an outsider, joining a club like Real Madrid. 4 years in Madrid, Steve McManaman, a good read.
Brilliant.
I digress. Gary Locke is our Bootroom guest, and I'm delighted that he's here because it's such a long association with Hearts. Hard to believe it. It looks as if it was only, it seems to me, only yesterday you were in there as a youngster with a whole batch of young guys. It was at a time when I was living in Edinburgh that it was great to be around, the guys, because there was a whole batch of young players coming through that were breaking into the team.
Yeah, well, we're lucky. We had, obviously, Sandy Clark got the manager's job, but once he left and Jim Jeffries came in as well, they all had a lot of faith in us. So, myself, Alan Johnston, Tommy Harrison, Kevin Thomas, Paul Ritchie, Alan McManus, Stuart Callahan, there was a lot of us came through the youth together, and we were all very fortunate to play in the first team together. And that, Ruffy will tell you, team spirit, goes a long way in football, and the spirit that we had at Hearts, especially in the '98 side, was the reason why we were so successful.
Yeah, when you look at the '98 side, there were some special players in that cup-winning team. I always laugh with my good friend Robbo because he had a cameo role in so many games in that season. I was wishing that he would have got on that day. I was wishing you would have got on because, quite simply, I think that was a tough year for you with injuries.
Yeah, it was a difficult year. I'd played most of the season, and I'd obviously played in the '96 Cup final, which was a great occasion. Youngest ever Hearts captain. Unfortunately, I got injured. Then my knee played up for I was doing my rehab, and I didn't make the next final. And in that final, my knee went maybe about a month before it. And to be fair to the manager, he gave me all the time that he could have done for me to try and get myself fit, but I knew it was going to come a week too early, so I missed the game. But it was a fantastic couple of months after it. Obviously being a Hearts man through and through, I hadn't seen them winning anything, so the fact I was club captain when we won it, with the worst hairstyle probably in Scottish football, Filters was probably second worst, but it was a great team, and it's fantastic memories, and it got the monkey off the club's back with the fact that a lot of fans didn't think they would see us winning a trophy, and that obviously surpassed it all. Yeah,
and I thought that, I remember that day for another part of it, which was the class act of Stevie and everybody wanting you up there to pick the cup up.
Yeah, it was great. I didn't really know anything about it till after the game, and because I played a huge part, I was heavily behind all the social nights we used to have, and the togetherness of the squad, which I felt as a captain you've got to do that. It was a great squad. It's 20 years next year that we're going to celebrate, and the club's doing a lot at the moment. We've got a lot of functions coming up with the '98 squad getting back together, so I'm looking forward to, we all kind of keep in touch anyway, but I'm looking forward to seeing all the boys again. Unfortunately, Stefano's not going to be there. His thoughts will certainly be thinking about him and his family, but it'd be great to get back together because it was a fantastic squad of players.
Yeah, there was a good group. If you look at the side, I was just looking at the team from that day: Rousset, McPherson, Weir, Ritchie, and Naismith. Flogo, Cameron, Salvatore, Fulton, McCann, and Stefan Adam. Not a bad lineup. I'm not sure it was Adam up there on his own, or did he get a bit of support?
Yeah, he got a lot of support for Colin Cameron for the middle of the pitch. I think Colin that season, he was into double figures in terms of goals. He had a great balance to the team. Unfortunately, even when I was fit, I could never play in my preferred position, which was centre midfield, because the three of them played that well. So I ended up getting shifted to right back quite a lot. So it was a great squad, and if you look at that, there was a squad full internationalists. I think that was the reason why we ran Celtic and Rangers so close.
Yeah, and great sadness, and I'm glad you touched on Stefano Salvatore. What was he like as a person, and your experience of him as a player in that team?
Yeah, it was a great lad, and that was a time where the manager and Billy, their contacts in the game, they brought him over, and he played for AC Milan with Baresi and Maldini, and it was at the stage where our culture was obviously have a beer and all the rest of it, and it was probably the first time as a young lad that I'd seen how a foreign player kind of lived. I think a bit similar to Cantona when he went into Man United. Pasquale, Bruno and Gilles and Stefano were huge in terms of how we changed as young lads, you know, eating pasta and eating chicken and no drinking so much and looking after your body a lot better than probably what we used to do. So he was a huge influence and a massive loss, you know. Still get upset at the fact that he's not going to be with us anymore because, you know, at 49 he was far too young. Yeah,
absolutely. And of course, on the day, the boys stepped up to the plate because I think a lot of people thought that Rangers were indeed the red hot favourites to go and win that.
Yeah, well, you look at the Rangers team that day, you know, and the quality that they had throughout their squad was unbelievable. And to go through and beat any of the old firm in Glasgow, you know, it's a difficult thing to do. We got off to the perfect start. You know, we had a game plan that day where we were going to kind of sit back and try and let Rangers come at us and hit them on the counter attack because we had pace with Cameron and Adam and obviously Fulton. You know, he was quicker than what a lot of people give him credit for as well. So the game plan worked. You know, we went 2-0 up. We were hanging on at the end. But you know, it was a momentous day and a fantastic day for everyone associated with Hearts.
And as you know yourself, Ruffy, when you get a collection of players who win something that's memorable, it's friendships forever.
Yeah, it certainly is, you know, and I mean, Gary's touched on it. You can knock the sort of a social side of it as much as you like, but the social side of it is a big part, you know, and obviously if you can get foreign players buying into that, you know, obviously it's a different culture for them, as Gary's talked about, but it's great, you know, having nights out. I don't care where you are or who you play for. It really helps, and you might find it hard to believe, but it actually helps on the park as well because you're fighting for each other and you know each other personal rather than just being a player. And I think a lot of guys will tell you that when you don't have that harmony in the dressing room, it's a tough one to get your head around.
Yeah, and to be perfectly honest with you, when you look at Salvatore and Flogel and them, they didn't really struggle up the amphitheatre when it was like it was 2:30 in the morning and you're enjoying yourself in the middle of the dance floor. They were a right good bunch of guys. I've got to ask you, Jeffries, you're always associated with him. What was he like as a manager?
Yeah, he was a fantastic manager. You know, I was fortunate. You know, I think I repaid him as well with you know, the way that I sort of ran the dressing room for him. You know, I played a big part in that, and I'd like to think I repaid him on the pitch as well. I think that's why he took me to Bradford and Kilmarnock, because he knew what I'd bring to the table. But him and Billy were, you know, a great management team. They probably wouldn't get away with some of the things that they've done to us in the modern day, but they knew how to get the best out of you, you know, and they were very fair. I think that's probably the biggest compliment I can pay them. You know, when you needed a rollicking, I've been on the end of a few, and trust me, they went bananas. But when you got, you know, you did well, you deserved the praise. They were quick enough to give you that as well, and I think that's how, you know, so many of the lads, you know, still call him Gaffer to this day, because the respect that we've all got for him, you know, is enormous.
Yeah. What's your highlight from your time at Hearts?
Obviously the trophies. You know, I was very fortunate that I've been at Hearts, and you know, the 3 trophies that I've seen us winning, I was involved in 2 of them, which was fantastic. And you know, as a young kid growing up, and it's maybe a bit sad to say, but for me, you know, all I ever wanted to do was play for Hearts as a kid, and never achieved my ambition. You know, I certainly never thought I'd manage them, but to be the captain, to play for them, to score for them and manage them, you know, it's a dream come true for me.
Yeah, I don't think that's sad. I think that's to be celebrated. I think you'll look back with great pride, Ruffy.
No, I think if you look at the history books, there'll be a lot of people who have done that. You know, come up as a supporter, a player and a manager. No credit to Gary, and he's still there to this day. You know, I'm surprised he's never had a testimonial, to tell you the truth.
He's my new agent. Honestly, that's me. He's signed up.
Do you know what that was? It was across from the left-hand side. The keeper slipped and the ball's at your feet. I mean,
I just hope Anne's watching this.
Absolutely, that's absolutely sensational. You couldn't have picked that any better. I know it's going to be a great time. I've got to ask you about, you know, if you're a Hearts man, he's arguing about Hibs. There's a couple of derbies coming up. How important is it for Hearts to try and stamp their authority on it, because they were second best the last time?
Yeah, they're two huge games for us. You know, certainly in my time, you know, we've not been used to getting beat by Hibs on too many occasions. And you know, recently the last 8 derbies, Hibs have held the upper hand. So you know, everything changes. So it's 2 home games as well, which is a lot better for us. We've got home advantage, you know, with the new stadium. It'll be fantastic atmosphere, but you know, we're going to be up against a really good side. You know, Neil Lennon's done a fantastic job at Hibs. He's recruited really well. In the last game at Easter Road, I was really impressed with Hibs. So we'll certainly need to be at our best if we have to get a win.
Yep, and of course you've been played in some special derbies. Anyone that sticks in your mind?
Obviously the Scottish Cup final 2012, that's a memory that will never leave me. That was a fantastic day as a Hearts coach, but also a Hearts supporter. So that'd be the most memorable. But in terms of ones that I've played in, one at Tynecastle where we won 2-1 and I set up the first goal, got brought down for a penalty for the second one. That was pleasing because you felt as if you had contributed a lot to the game.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm absolutely delighted we've managed to get you into the studio, Gary, to reminisce and obviously chat football as well. Ruffy is handling the committee for Gary Locke testimonial. Just priceless. So you couldn't have timed that any better. I'm going to leave these two fighting, to be honest with you, about who's the third biggest team in Scotland. Join us tomorrow on the programme if you can. We'll look ahead to Dundee Rangers and the rest of the football across Scotland with Hugh McDonald at 7:30. Good night.